Michael, a 32-year-old police officer in Chicago, finished his dinner at a nearby restaurant and decided to take a walk before heading home. The cool night air felt refreshing as he walked through the dimly lit streets, lost in thoughts about his new girlfriend. They had only been dating for 2 weeks, but it already felt like he had known her for years. He was even starting to think about their future together, maybe even starting a family someday. As he turned down a quiet alley, his thoughts were abruptly interrupted by a sound that sent a chill down his spine, a baby crying. He stopped in his tracks, straining to hear more clearly. The crying continued, faint but unmistakable. His heart raced as he looked around, trying to locate the source of the distressing sound. Following the cries, Michael hurried towards a row of trash cans lined up against a brick wall. The closer he got, the louder the crying became. He reached the last trash can and hesitated for a moment, fearing what he might find. Taking a deep breath, he lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in dirty blankets, was a tiny black baby girl, her face red and scrunched up as she wailed. Michael's heart broke at the sight. He couldn't understand how anyone could abandon a baby like this. He gently lifted her out of the trash can, cradling her in his arms. Her cries began to soften as he held her close, trying to soothe her. "Hey there, little one. It's okay. I've got you now," he whispered, feeling an overwhelming need to protect her. The baby was burning up, her small body hot to the touch. Michael quickly checked her for injuries, but she seemed physically unharmed. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911, his voice urgent as he explained the situation. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, this is Officer Michael Thompson. I just found a baby in a trash can. She's alive but seems to have a fever. We need an ambulance at the corner of 5th and Elm immediately. Stay with the baby until they arrive, the dispatcher instructed. Michael hung up and focused on the baby, who was now looking up at him with wide, teary eyes. He couldn't help but feel a connection to her, a protective instinct he had never experienced before. He rocked her gently, murmuring soothing words. "Who left you here, sweetie? How could anyone do this to you?" he said softly, his heart aching for her. Minutes passed, feeling like hours as he waited for the ambulance. He played with her tiny fingers, trying to keep her calm. The baby girl stared up at him, her cries now reduced to occasional whimpers. "You're so precious. I don't know who would do this to you, but I'm here now. I'll make sure you're safe," he promised. Finally, the sound of sirens approached, and Michael felt a wave of relief. The ambulance pulled up, and 2 paramedics rushed over with a stretcher. Michael explained how he had found the baby, and they carefully took her from his arms, placing her on the stretcher. "She has a fever, but I didn't see any visible injuries," Michael told them. "We'll take her to the hospital and run some tests," one of the paramedics said. "Thank you for staying with her." "I'll follow you to the hospital," Michael said, not wanting to leave the baby's side. At the hospital, the baby was quickly taken into the emergency room. Michael called his boss to explain the situation and was given permission to stay with the baby. He waited anxiously in the lobby, pacing back and forth. The connection he felt to this abandoned baby was unlike anything he had ever experienced, and he couldn't bear the thought of leaving her alone after what felt like an eternity. A doctor came out to speak with him. "The baby is stable for now. She has mild pneumonia, likely from exposure. We're starting her on antibiotics and monitoring her closely." "Thank you, doctor. Can I see her? Michael asked, his voice filled with concern. Yes, you can. She's in room 204, the doctor replied. Michael hurried to the room, finding the baby resting in a small crib hooked up to various monitors. She looked so tiny and vulnerable. He pulled up a chair and sat beside her, reaching through the bars of the crib to gently stroke her cheek. Hey there, little one. You're going to be okay. The doctors are taking good care of you, he said softly. The baby opened her eyes and looked at him, her expression seeming to relax at the sound of his voice. Over the next few days, Michael visited the hospital every day, checking on the baby's progress. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to be in her life. As he spent more time with her, he found himself growing more attached. He started thinking about what it would be like to take her home, to care for her and give her the love and protection she deserved. His visits didn't go unnoticed by the hospital staff. One nurse in particular, Carla, noticed his dedication and struck up a conversation with him one evening. You really care about her, don't you? Carla asked, a kind smile on her face. I do, Michael admitted. I don't know why, but I feel this strong connection to her. I can't just walk away. Have you thought about what happens next? If no one comes forward to claim her, she might end up in the foster system, Carla said gently. The thought of the baby being placed in foster care and possibly bouncing from home to home made Michael's heart ache. He knew what he had to do. I want to adopt her, he said firmly. I'll go through whatever process I need to, but I want to give her a home. Carla smiled. That's wonderful, Michael. She would be lucky to have you as her father. Michael spent the next few days gathering information on the adoption process and speaking with social workers. He wanted to be prepared for whatever steps he needed to take. Meanwhile, the baby girl, whom he had started calling Leah, continued to improve under the hospital's care. As he sat by her crib one evening, Leah reached out and wrapped her tiny hand around his finger, looking up at him with big, trusting eyes. Michael felt a surge of love and determination. I promise I'll take care of you, Leah. I'll give you the life you deserve, he whispered, knowing that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Michael took some time off work to be with the baby, who had been diagnosed with mild pneumonia. She was being treated with antibiotics and was slowly starting to improve. Every day, Michael visited her, sitting by her crib and talking to her, even though she couldn't understand a word he was saying. He just wanted her to feel safe and loved. The nurses and doctors began to recognize Michael, and he quickly became a familiar face in the pediatric ward. One nurse, Carla, often stopped by to check on both the baby and Michael. She had a soft spot for the dedicated cop who was always there for the little girl. You're here again, Michael, Carla said with a smile as she entered the room. You know, she's starting to recognize you. Every time you come in, she seems to calm down. Michael looked up from the crib where he had been gently stroking the baby's hand. I hope so. I just want her to know that she's not alone, that someone cares about her. Carla nodded, her eyes kind. You're doing a great job. She needs that kind of reassurance, especially after what she's been through. Michael appreciated Carla's words, but he had other things on his mind. His girlfriend, Monica, had been less than supportive about the whole situation. He had told her about the baby the night he found her, expecting sympathy or at least understanding. Instead, Monica's reaction had been cold and dismissive. Michael, you can't be serious, she had said when he first mentioned the idea of adopting the baby. "This isn't your responsibility. Someone else can take care of her." "But I found her, Monica. I feel responsible for her," Michael had argued. "I can't just walk away." Monica had crossed her arms, a look of irritation on her face. "What about us? What about our plans? You want to throw all that away for a baby you found in a trash can?" The conversation had ended in frustration, with Monica storming out of his apartment. Since then, things had been tense between them. Michael knew that Monica didn't understand why he felt so strongly about the baby, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to take care of her. Each day, as he sat by the baby's crib, he thought about his future and what it might look like with her in it. He imagined taking her to the park, teaching her to ride a bike, and watching her grow up. These thoughts made him smile, but they also filled him with a sense of uncertainty. Adopting a baby was a huge responsibility, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for it. But every time he looked into her big, trusting eyes, he knew he couldn't abandon her. One evening, Michael was sitting in the hospital room, holding the baby's tiny hand, when his phone buzzed. It was a text from Monica, "We need to talk." Michael sighed, knowing this conversation was long overdue. He kissed the baby's forehead and whispered, "I'll be back soon, little one," before heading out of the hospital. He met Monica at a coffee shop a few blocks away. She was already seated, looking at her phone, her expression unreadable. Michael sat down across from her, feeling a knot form in his stomach. "Hey," he said, trying to keep his tone light. Monica looked up, her eyes cold. "Hey." There was a moment of awkward silence before Monica spoke again. "Michael, we need to figure this out. I can't keep pretending like everything is okay when it's not." "I know," Michael replied, his voice low. "But I can't just leave her, Monica. I feel like she needs me." Monica's expression hardened. "What about me, Michael? What about what I need? I didn't sign up for this. I thought we were going to start a life together, just the two of us. Now you're talking about adopting a baby that's not even yours." Michael felt a surge of frustration. "Monica, it's not that simple. I found her in a trash can. Someone left her there to die. I can't just walk away and pretend like I never found her." Monica shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "I can't do this, Michael. I can't be with someone who would choose a stranger's baby over his own girlfriend." Michael's heart sank. He had hoped that Monica would come around, but it was clear that she wasn't going to change her mind. "Monica, please. I'm not choosing anyone over you. I'm trying to do the right thing." Monica stood up, grabbing her purse. "I need some time to think," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I can be a part of this." Michael watched her walk out of the coffee shop, feeling a mix of sadness and anger. He knew that his relationship with Monica was on the brink of collapse, but he couldn't turn his back on the baby girl who needed him. Over the next few days, Michael continued to visit the hospital, spending as much time as he could with the baby he had decided to name Leah. It felt right, like she had always been Leah, even before he found her. The name brought him a sense of comfort and familiarity. One afternoon, as he was sitting by Leah's crib, Carla walked in with a stack of papers. "Michael, I thought you might want to look at these," she said, handing him the documents. Michael glanced at them, realizing they were adoption papers. He looked up at Carla, a mix of gratitude and anxiety in his eyes. "Thank you, Carla. I didn't know where to start with all this." Carla smiled warmly. "I figured you might need a little help. I can put you in touch with a social worker who can guide you through the process." "You're doing a wonderful thing, Michael. Leah is lucky to have you." Michael nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. He looked down at Leah, who was sleeping peacefully. "I just want to give her a good life," he said quietly. As the days passed, Michael began the long and complicated process of adopting Leah. He filled out forms, met with social workers, and prepared himself for the challenges ahead. Throughout it all, he continued to visit Leah every day, growing more attached to her with each passing moment. Monica's absence weighed heavily on him, but he knew that he had made the right decision. Leah needed him, and he couldn't abandon her, no matter what it cost him personally. One evening, as Michael sat by Leah's crib, Carla came in with a small smile. "I have some good news. Leah is responding well to the treatment. If everything continues to go well, she should be able to go home in a few days." Michael felt a surge of relief and joy. "That's amazing news, Carla." "Thank you." Carla nodded. "She's a fighter, just like her new dad." Michael looked down at Leah, feeling a deep sense of love and commitment. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face it for Leah's sake. She had already become the most important part of his life, and he was determined to give her the love and care she deserved. As he held Leah's tiny hand, Michael whispered, "We're going to be okay, Leah. I promise." He knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of hope and purpose. He had found his calling, and it was wrapped up in the tiny, fragile life of the baby girl he had saved. Monica's anger had been simmering since Michael first told her about the baby he found. She couldn't understand why he felt such a strong connection to the child, and her patience was wearing thin. Every conversation about the baby ended in an argument, and Michael could feel the strain it was putting on their relationship. One evening, Michael was at the hospital as usual, sitting by the crib of the baby girl he had named Leah. She was getting better every day, and the doctors were hopeful that she would make a full recovery. Michael was feeding her a bottle when his phone buzzed with a text from Monica. "We need to talk now." Michael sighed, knowing this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. He gently placed Leah back in her crib and kissed her forehead. "I'll be back soon, little one," he whispered before heading out to meet Monica in the hospital lobby. Monica was already there, pacing back and forth, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. The moment she saw Michael, her face twisted into a scowl. "Michael, this has to stop," she said, her voice low and angry. "You're spending all your time here with that baby. What about us? What about our relationship?" Michael tried to stay calm, but he could feel his own frustration rising. "Monica, I've explained this to you. I found her abandoned in a trash can. I can't just walk away from her." "Why not?" Monica snapped. "She's not your responsibility. Someone else can take care of her. We had plans, Michael. We were supposed to start a life together, just the two of us. Now you're throwing that all away for a baby that's not even yours." Michael shook his head, struggling to find the right words. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trying to do the right thing. Leah needs me, and I can't turn my back on her. Monica's eyes flashed with anger. You know what this looks like, right? A white cop with a black baby. People are going to talk. They're going to think I'm barren or that you're cheating on me. This is humiliating. Is that what this is about? Michael asked, his voice rising. What people might think. Monica, this isn't about us. This is about an innocent baby who was left to die. How can you be so selfish? I'm not being selfish, Michael. You're the one being selfish, Monica nearly shouted. You're choosing her over me. You're choosing a baby you just found over the woman you've been with for months. A few people in the lobby turned to look, sensing the tension between them. Michael lowered his voice, trying to de-escalate the situation. Monica, please, let's not do this here. No, let's do this here, Monica insisted, her voice still loud enough to draw attention. Everyone should know what kind of person you are. You're abandoning your girlfriend for a random baby. Do you even hear how crazy that sounds? Michael felt his patience snap. Monica, if you can't understand why I need to do this, then maybe we shouldn't be together. I thought you were someone who cared about others, but clearly, I was wrong. Monica's face turned red with anger. So that's it. You're choosing her over me. I'm choosing to do the right thing, Michael said firmly. If you can't support me in that, then yes, I'm choosing her over you. Monica stared at him for a moment, her eyes filled with fury and hurt. Without another word, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the hospital, leaving Michael standing there, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his emotions before heading back to Leah's room. As he walked down the hallway, he couldn't help but feel a weight lift off his shoulders. The constant arguments with Monica had been draining, and now that she was gone, he felt a sense of clarity and purpose. When he reached Leah's room, he found Carla there, checking on the baby. She looked up as he entered, noticing the tension in his face. Everything okay? She asked gently. Michael nodded, though he didn't feel entirely okay. Monica and I just broke up, he said quietly, not wanting to go into too much detail. Carla gave him a sympathetic look. I'm sorry to hear that, Michael. But if it helps, I think you're making the right decision. Leah needs you, and you're doing an amazing job. Thanks, Carla, Michael said, feeling a bit more reassured. He walked over to Leah's crib and looked down at her. She was asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Seeing her so peaceful brought a sense of calm to Michael's turbulent thoughts. He knew that adopting Leah was going to be a big challenge, but he was ready for it. The love he felt for her was already stronger than anything he had ever felt, and he couldn't imagine his life without her. He bent down and kissed her forehead again, whispering, I'm here for you, Leah. Always. Over the next few days, Michael threw himself into the adoption process with renewed determination. He met with social workers, filled out mountains of paperwork, and prepared his home for Leah's arrival. Every day, he visited the hospital, spending as much time as he could with her. Carla and the other hospital staff continued to be supportive, helping him navigate the complex process. They could see the bond between Michael and Leah growing stronger each day, and they were all rooting for him to succeed. One afternoon, Michael was sitting by Leah's crib, reading her a story, when Carla came in with a big smile on her face. "Michael, I have some great news," she said. "The adoption process is moving faster than expected. If everything goes well, you might be able to take Leah home in just a few weeks." Michael felt a surge of excitement and relief. "That's amazing news, Carla. Thank you so much for everything you've done to help us." Carla waved off his thanks. "You're the one doing the hard work, Michael. Leah is lucky to have you." Michael looked down at Leah, who was staring up at him with wide, curious eyes. "No, I'm the lucky one," he said softly. "Finding her was the best thing that ever happened to me." As the weeks passed, Michael continued to prepare for Leah's homecoming. He set up a crib in his bedroom, bought baby clothes and supplies, and even took a few parenting classes to make sure he was ready for the challenges ahead. Finally, the day came when he could bring Leah home. He arrived at the hospital early, filled with nervous excitement. Carla and a few other nurses were there to see them off, and they helped Michael get Leah settled in her car seat. "Take good care of her," Carla said, giving Michael a hug. "And don't be a stranger. Bring her back to visit us sometime." "I will," Michael promised, feeling a lump in his throat. "Thank you for everything, Carla." He carefully carried Leah out to his car and buckled her in, making sure she was secure. As he drove home, he couldn't help but glance in the rearview mirror, smiling every time he saw her little face. When they arrived home, Michael carried Leah inside and showed her around. "Welcome home, Leah," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "This is your home now." He took her to her new crib, gently placing her down and watching as she looked around, taking in her new surroundings. Michael felt a deep sense of satisfaction and joy. This was the start of their new life together, and he was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Over the next few days, Michael and Leah settled into a routine. He learned quickly how to take care of her needs, from feeding and changing diapers to soothing her when she cried. Each day brought new challenges but also new joys as he watched Leah grow and develop. One evening, as he was rocking Leah to sleep, he thought about everything that had happened since he found her. The breakup with Monica had been painful, but it had also made him realize what was truly important. He had found his purpose in caring for Leah, and he wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. As Leah drifted off to sleep, Michael whispered, "Good night, my little Leah. I love you." He knew that their journey was just beginning, but he was ready to face it with all the love and determination he had. Balancing his duties as a police officer and caring for Leah was no small feat, but Michael was determined to make it work. His days became a juggling act of early morning feedings, late-night diaper changes, and everything in between. He had taken a few weeks off after officially adopting Leah, but now it was time to return to the precinct. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to tackle whatever challenges came his way. On his first day back, Michael walked into the precinct with a sense of determination. He had Leah settled with a trusted neighbor who had agreed to help with childcare during his shifts. As he made his way to his desk, he was greeted with a mix of reactions from his colleagues. Some gave him supportive nods, while others whispered among themselves, casting curious glances in his direction. "Hey, Mike. Good to have you back," called out Officer Jenkins, one of his close friends on the force. "How's fatherhood treating you?" Michael smiled, grateful for the friendly face. "Thanks, Jenkins. It's definitely a challenge, but Leah's worth it." Jenkins grinned and gave him a pat on the back. "I bet she is. If you need any help or advice, you know where to find me." But not everyone was as supportive. Sergeant O'Reilly, a gruff old-school cop, made his opinion known the moment Michael walked past him. "So, you're the guy who adopted a baby he found in the trash, huh?" O'Reilly said, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Don't you think that's a bit of a stretch, even for you?" Michael stopped and turned to face him, keeping his voice calm. "I did what I thought was right, Sarge. Leah needed a home, and I couldn't turn my back on her." "Well, I hope you're ready for the long haul. Being a single parent and a cop isn't exactly a walk in the park." "I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm committed to making it work," Michael replied firmly. He knew there would be doubters, but he wasn't going to let them shake his resolve. As the days turned into weeks, Michael found a rhythm in his new life. He woke up early to feed Leah and get her ready before dropping her off at the neighbor's house, then headed to work where he tried to stay focused on his duties while constantly thinking about Leah and wondering how she was doing. During his lunch breaks, he called to check in and make sure everything was okay. His colleagues soon realized that Michael was serious about his responsibilities as a father. Many of them warmed up to the idea, offering their support and even babysitting tips. Officer Thompson, who had 3 kids of his own, became a valuable resource for Michael. "Hey, Mike, you got this," Thompson said one afternoon as they grabbed coffee. "Parenting is tough, but it's also the most rewarding job you'll ever have. Just take it one day at a time." Michael appreciated the advice and the camaraderie that began to develop among his fellow officers. It made the difficult days a little easier to bear. However, the judgment from some corners of the precinct still lingered. One day, Michael overheard a conversation in the break room. Officers Daniels and Harris were talking, and their voices carried through the door. "I don't know why he's doing this to himself," Daniels said. "Adopting a baby he found? It's like he's asking for trouble." "Yeah," Harris agreed. "I mean, it's a noble thing and all, but doesn't he realize how hard it's going to be, especially with a job like ours?" Michael felt a pang of frustration but chose to ignore it. He had enough on his plate without worrying about what others thought. His priority was Leah, and he was determined to give her the best life possible. One evening, after a particularly tough shift, Michael picked up Leah and brought her home. As he fed her dinner, he thought about the challenges he had faced and the ones still to come. Leah giggled and reached for his face, her tiny fingers grasping at his nose. Her laughter was infectious, and Michael couldn't help but smile. "You're my little miracle, you know that," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We're in this together, kiddo." As Leah finished her meal, Michael prepared her for bed. He had set up a cozy crib in his bedroom, wanting her close by during the night. After reading her a bedtime story, he watched as her eyes fluttered shut, her breathing steady and calm. The sight of her sleeping peacefully filled him with a sense of purpose and resolve. The next morning, Michael woke up to the sound of Leah babbling in her crib. He smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. Despite the exhaustion and the constant balancing act, moments like these made it all worthwhile. At the precinct, things began to settle into a routine. Michael's colleagues saw his dedication firsthand and slowly began to respect his decision. Even Sergeant O'Reilly, who had been skeptical from the start, seemed to soften his stance. One day, As Michael was filing a report, O'Reilly approached him. "Thompson," he grunted. "I may not agree with what you did, but I can see you're giving it your all. Just don't let it interfere with the job, all right?" Michael nodded, appreciating the gesture. "I won't, Sarge. Thanks." Outside of work, Michael found support in unexpected places. His neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, who had initially agreed to watch Leah, became a close ally. She was a retired nurse and had a wealth of knowledge about childcare. She offered advice, helped with babysitting, and even cooked meals for them sometimes. "You're doing a great job, Michael," Mrs. Johnson said one afternoon as they watched Leah play with some toys. "You're a natural." Michael smiled, feeling grateful for her support. "I couldn't do it without you, Mrs. Johnson. Thank you for everything." As the months went by, Michael and Leah settled into their new life. The routine of balancing work and fatherhood became second nature to him. He learned to cherish the small moments, like Leah's first steps and her infectious laughter. One day, Michael received a call from the daycare he had enrolled Leah in. He had been worried about leaving her in someone else's care, but he knew it was necessary with his unpredictable work schedule. "Mr. Thompson, Leah is doing great," the daycare director said. "She's adjusting well and making friends. You should be proud." Michael felt a wave of relief. "Thank you. That means a lot." At the precinct, Michael's dedication didn't go unnoticed. His supervisor saw how he managed his responsibilities and continued to perform his duties with diligence. He was even considered for a promotion, something that had seemed out of reach just a few months ago. During a meeting with his captain, Michael was told, "Thompson, you've shown incredible commitment both at work and in your personal life. We're considering you for a leadership role. How do you feel about that?" Michael was taken aback but grateful. "I'd be honored, Captain. Thank you." The support from his colleagues and the recognition from his superiors bolstered Michael's confidence. He realized that despite the challenges, he was capable of handling his responsibilities and providing a loving home for Leah. One evening, after putting Leah to bed, Michael sat down with a cup of coffee and reflected on how far they had come. The initial doubts and judgments from others had been tough to navigate, but he had proven to himself and those around him that he could do it. He thought about Monica and the decision to end their relationship. It had been painful, but it was the right choice. He needed someone who would support his commitment to Leah, not someone who would stand in the way. He hadn't started dating again, focusing all his energy on Leah and his job, but he felt hopeful about the future. Michael also made an effort to stay connected with the other parents he met at daycare and parenting classes. Building a support network was important, and he found comfort in sharing experiences and advice with others who understood what he was going through. As Leah grew, so did the bond between them. She became more expressive, her personality shining through with each passing day. Michael loved watching her discover the world around her, and he made sure to be there for every milestone, big or small. One Saturday, they went to the park. Michael watched with pride as Leah toddled around, her laughter ringing out as she chased a butterfly. Another parent, a mother with a toddler of her own, struck up a conversation with Michael. "Your daughter is adorable," she said with a smile. "How old is she?" "Thanks," Michael replied, smiling back. "She just turned 2. She looks so happy," the woman observed. "You're doing a great job." Michael nodded, feeling a swell of pride. Thank you. It's been a learning experience, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. As they watched their children play, Michael realized how much his life had changed since the night he found Leah. It had been a whirlwind of emotions and challenges, but it had also brought him immense joy and fulfillment. That evening, after Leah was asleep, Michael took a moment to write in a journal he had started keeping. It was a way for him to process his thoughts and document their journey together. He wrote about their day at the park, the conversations he had, and the pride he felt watching Leah grow. In one entry, he wrote, "Finding Leah was the most unexpected blessing. Every day is a new adventure, and I'm grateful for the chance to be her dad. We've faced challenges, but we've also found so much happiness. I know there's more to come, and I'm ready for it." As Michael closed the journal and turned out the light, he felt a deep sense of contentment. He knew there would be more obstacles ahead, but he was confident in his ability to navigate them. With Leah by his side, he felt ready to take on whatever the future held.